The cell theory. Going back in time, where does life come from? Religion, philosophy, and science have all wrestled with these questions. One of the oldest explanations was the theory of spontaneous generation, which can be traced back to the ancient Greeks and was widely accepted through the Middle Age. Most biologists believe that life arose spontaneously from inanimate matter, but the details of how this could have happened remain unknown and the time scale was long. What is it really all about? What are the real tenets of the cell theory? That is what you're going to find out. Let us find out. Here are some big questions for your big mind. First, in the past, what is the people's understanding about cell? Second, what was their perception about the origin of life? And last, how did they determine these perceptions? Let's find out. The theory of spontaneous generation. The Greek philosopher Aristotle, 384 to 322 BC, was one of the earliest recorded scholars to articulate the theory of spontaneous generation, the notion that life can arise from non-living matter. Aristotle proposed that life arose from non-living material if the material contained pneuma or vital heat. As evidence, he noted several instances of the appearance of animals from environments previously devoid of such animals, such as seemingly sudden appearance of fish in a new puddle of water. This theory persisted into the 17th century when scientists undertook additional experimentations to support or disapprove it. By this time, the proponents of the theory cited how frogs simply seemed to appear along the muddy banks of the Nile River in Egypt during the annual flooding. Others observed that mice simply appeared among grain stored in barns with thatched roof. When the roof leaked and the grain molded, mice appeared. Jean-Baptiste van Helmont, a 17th century Flemish scientist, proposed that mice could arise from their rats and waste kernels left in the open container for 3 weeks. In reality, such habitats provided ideal food sources and shelter for mouse populations to flourish. However, one of the Van Helmont's contemporaries, Italian physician Francesco Redi, 1626 to 1697, performed an experiment in 1668 that was one of the first to refute the idea that maggots, the larvae of flies, spontaneously generate on meat left out in the open air. He predicted that preventing flies from having direct contact with the meat would also prevent the appearance of maggots. Redi left meat in each of 6 containers. 2 were open to the air and 2 were covered with gauze and 2 were tightly sealed. His hypothesis was supported when maggots developed in the uncovered jars, but no maggots appeared in either the gauze-covered or tightly sealed jars. He concluded that maggots could only form when flies were allowed to lay eggs in the meat, and that the maggots were the offspring of flies, not the product of spontaneous generation. In 1745, John Needham, 1713 to 1781, published a report of his own experiments in which he briefly boiled broth infused with plant or animals' matters, hoping to kill all pre-existing microbes. He then sealed the flask. After a few days, Needham observed that the broth had become cloudy and a single drop contained numerous microscopic creatures. He argued that the new microbes must have arisen spontaneously. In reality, however, he likely did not boil the broth enough to kill all pre-existing microbes. Lazzaro Spallanzani, 1729-1799, did not agree with Needham's conclusions, however, and performed hundreds of carefully executed experiments using treated broth. As in Needham's experiments, broth in sealed jars or unsealed jars was infused with plant and animal matter. Spallanzani's results contradicted the findings of Needham. Heated but sealed flasks remained clear without any signs of spontaneous growth unless the flasks were subsequently opened to air. This suggested that microbes were introduced into this flask from the air. In response to Spallanzani's findings, Needham argued that life originates from a life force that was destroyed during Spallanzani's extended boiling. Any subsequent sealing of the flask then prevented new life force from entering and causing spontaneous generation.